Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiba wa amalan mutaqabbala. Allahumma faqihna fi ad-din wa 'allimna ta'wil ya rabbil alamin. Amma ba'd. I wanted to, before we proceed with the class, I wanted to clarify something. And the past few days, I've been getting questions about, different opinions within, when we discuss these masail. So, firstly, I wanted to mention that, when we study fiqh, from the tradition of the, the scholars, is that you study one madhab first, right? One opinion, one madhab first. And if you were to compare this with, any other sciences, right? As a child, when you grow up, when you're studying something for the first time, you don't study all the different advanced, aspects of it and the different opinions of this person and that person. When you're studying science, for example, you study one thing and they don't even tell you, the why, right? Why? What's the proof for it? They tell you that, this is the rule and this is how you apply it. And the same thing the scholars use for fiqh. Right? When you study fiqh first, and if you were to enter any beginner fiqh class, and you look at any of the books of the scholars, the fuqaha, their first book, the book that is meant for the beginners, always is just things that are listed down, right? So, for example, they'll talk about wudu, and you need to, wash your face, and you need to, wash your hands, and you need to wipe this, right? They would not mention dalil. It would be very little, or they would mention no adillah, right? And this is because when a person's first coming into the religion, first learning about the religion, what do you need to do? You need to learn that which is wajib upon you as fast as possible so that you can act upon it, right? It will take a very long time if you were to explain each and every adillah, each and every ayah, or each and every hadith, and how it is attached to this hukm and the ruling and the differences of opinion, etc. Right? SubhanAllah, when we were studying, in Medina University, I remember, just studying Tohara alone, it took us 1 semester, right? Imagine studying how to make wudu and the types of water and how to make Ghusl and Tayamum. We didn't even finish Tohara properly, and it took us from September all the way to January, right? September, October, November, January, like 4 months, right? Just for that, and we didn't even finish the manhaj properly. And that was only the 4 imams, right? We were studying the opinions of the 4 imams. There are many other more opinions, right, of some of the salaf, as-salih, some of the tabi'een, right? So if we were to discuss and talk about all the different opinions, it would take a very long time. That is why the scholars, they mention that when you're studying, you choose one madhab, you choose one sheikh, one opinion, and you go with that, until you've mastered that. And then you come back, and the second way to do it, the second level, is that you take that same madhab, that same opinion, that same scholar that you were studying under, and his opinions, and now you study the proofs of why he chose this opinion. After you've studied the proofs and the evidences for that particular madhab, then, after you study the entire fiqh with all of the different proofs, then the third level and the highest level is studying why he chose that, as opposed to the other opinions out there and what the arguments are going back and forth. So that is a brief summary of how a person should study fiqh. And of course, it will take years and years to complete each level. So that is why in this class, we're just mentioning one opinion, and we may touch upon some of the adillah, but generally we're staying away just whatever is mentioned in the book, inshallah. So we continue. قال Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah, Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah, the author, he goes on after we discuss about wiping over the socks and what the mudda is, what the time limit is you have. And we said that if you are a resident, you can wipe over for 1 day, yawmun wa layla. And if you are travel, you have thalathati ayyam, you have 3 days to wipe over your socks. And after mentioning this, he talks about wiping over the imamah or the turban. He says, ويجوز المسح على العمامة إذا كانت ذات ذؤابة ساترة لجميع رأسه إلا ما جرت العادة بكشفه. So he says it is permissible to wipe over the turban if it has a tail and covers the entire head, which is usually uncovered while wearing the turban. So I've brought an imamah here to demonstrate what type of imamah can you wipe over. Right? There are different ways that people would normally wrap the imamah or the turban. So if you see here, right, he mentions that it has to have a tail. Right? So as long as it has a tail, right, of course you'd wrap it much better. But if you see this tail here, right, some people you'll see they wrap it with a tail. If you wrap it all the way around like this, then according to the Hanabila, you cannot wipe over the imamah. So you'll see some people, they wear a turban and it's all the way wrapped around, right? This kind of imamah you cannot wipe around. You cannot do mess. It has to have sort of a tail. There is a second type of imamah that is also permissible to wipe around, and that is called al-muhannaqa, meaning that it is wrapped around your neck. And I'll demonstrate that as well. That is when it's wrapped around your neck like this, and you'll see some of the shanaqita, some of the, those from Mauritania, they wear their imamah like this. They wrap it around their neck. This is also from the sunnah that you can wipe over your imamah. Right? So those two types. If, however, it's completely wrapped, then this is called imamatu as-samma, and this type we are not allowed to wipe over. He mentions here إذا كانت ذؤابة, and that one with the tail, ساترة لجميع الرأس. It has to cover the entire head, right? So covering the entire head. إلا ما جرت العادة بكشفها, except what is customary to be uncovered. So what does that mean? That means, for example, if a person is wearing his imamah, and for example here, right, the front part here is not covered, right? The front part is not covered. But this is customary, right? Normally, a person wouldn't, he wouldn't put his imamah all the way down here, right? Part of the front may be uncovered. Also his ears, right? We said that the ears are from the head, that udhunani min al-ras. It's not covered, but it's customary to leave your ears out, right? So that is fine. However, if he does, for example, he ties his imamah like this, and half of his head is showing, this is not customary. So this type of imamah, if he wears it like this, he would not be able to wipe over it. It has to be the way that people normally wear their imamah, customary, and he's allowed to wipe over that. If a part is showing that is customary to be uncovered, like the ears, for example, or maybe a tip from the head, then that is fine. So, for example, you have some hair, coming out, for example, that is fine if it's, if it's not up too much, the imamah, if it is at the normal spot. Then he goes on to say, وَمِنْ شَرْطِ الْمَسْحِ عَلَى جَمِيعِ ذَلِكَ أَنْ يَلْبَسَهُ عَلَى طَهَارَةٍ كَامِلَةٍ. And then he says, from the condition, from the shart of wiping over all of those things, meaning the imamah and the socks, right, is that you put them on عَلَى طَهَارَةٍ كَامِلَةٍ. You put them on after making complete tahara. After making complete tahara. And of course, we mentioned earlier, tahara al-sughra, the small tahara, which is wudu. So you need to make sure you put it on complete tahara. What does that mean? That means, for example, if I start making wudu, and I wash my mouth and my nose, I wash my face, wash my arms, and then I put my turban on, right? Put my turban on, and then I wash my feet. Did I put my turban on with complete tahara? No, it is incomplete tahara. So I cannot wipe over this. Similarly, the socks. You wash your first foot, right? And then you take your socks and you put it on. And then you wash your second foot. This first one, you didn't put it on complete tahara. Your entire wudu, your entire tahara has to be complete. Then you can put your turban and your socks on, and then you can wipe over it. If it's not complete tahara, it is not valid. It will not be valid for you to wipe over. ويجوز المسح على الجبيرة إذا لم يتعدى بشدها موضع الحاجة إلا أن يحلها. And then he says, it is permissible to wipe over the jabira, which is the cast or the bandage, as long as the place where it is on does not exceed that which must be bandaged over. So, for example, you get your finger breaks, right? Your finger breaks, and you need a cast. And the doctor says, look, I can either put the cast on this finger, or if you want, I can cast up your entire hand for you, right? For some reason or another, right? You tell him, you know what, just cast the entire hand for me. In that case, you should not be, you should not do that first of all. And in that case, you should not be, according to what he says, is that you cannot wipe over that, because it is not over the place that is your hajj or your darura, the place that is a must for the cast. In that case, he would say that you need to take it off, right? You need to take it off, or if it is too much to take it off, as the scholars have mentioned, then you can wipe over if it is a hajjah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And also here, it's important to notice that the jabira, the cast or the bandage that you have, he mentioned this separately from the wiping over the socks and the imamah. And why is that? Because the cast, it is something which it's special, it's different. Number one, it's wajib for you to wipe over. You don't have the choice of taking it off, putting it back on in most cases. Number two is the mudda, the time that you can wipe over it, right? And he says here, you can wipe over it until yahilluha, until it becomes better, right? So it's not only 2 days or 1 day or 3 days. Like the sock is 1 day for the resident and 3 days for the traveler, right? For the bandage, it is until that part gets better. You can wipe over it until that part gets better, whether it's a week or it's 2 weeks, whatever the doctor says, then you're able to wipe over it until it becomes better and until you're able to take it off. And then finally he says, وَالرَّجُلُ وَالْمَرْأَةُ فِي ذَلِكَ سَوَاءٌ إِلَّا أَنَّ الْمَرْأَةَ لَا تَمْسَحُ عَلَى الْإِمَامِ. And the men and the women are equal in these rulings, meaning that a woman can also wipe over her socks. A man can wipe over her socks. A woman can wipe over a cast if she has a cast as well. إِلَّا الْإِمَامَ إِلَّا تَمْسَحُ الْإِمَامَ, except wiping over a turban. For a woman is not allowed to wipe over her turban. However, she is allowed to wipe over her khimar. And this is the evidence for this is the hadith of Salama, where she reports that she used to wipe over her head covering or her khimar, and the Hanabila scholars have put a shart saying that it must be muhannaka, must be wrapped around from the neck part. So the neck part has to be tied around as well for the woman to be able to wipe around her over her khimar. And we'll end here inshallah, and that brings us to the end of the chapter of wudu. Tomorrow inshallah, or next week inshallah, we'll talk about the nullifiers of wudu. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.
Sorry, Sheikh, I just
Yes.
have a question.
Sure.